Hey everyone, it's Cassie and welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today we're going to be using the Simon Says stamp Love You Very Much February 2021 card kit. I didn't have an unboxing. I did, but it got deleted. And it is sold out, but I'm going to have everything linked down below so you can get your hands on it if you would like. To save time, I went ahead and stamped out all of my images using some ink on 3 blackout ink onto that Rina cardstock that came in the kit, and then I colored it with some Copic markers. And here they are. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut these out. I'm going to leave a little bit of white space around everything, but the little conversation hearts, those I will cut right on the line. But here are the 2 stamp sets, and so let's get started with our first card. Got one of the black pre-cut panels, and I'm just scoring that because I want to use that stencil on there. That is the Tumbling Hearts 6x6 stencil. I'm just going to tack this down with a little bit of purple tape because I want to use that Rina Neon Glitz Poppin' Pink. That came in the kit as well. If you want to buy it on its own, it comes in a much bigger jar. But we're just going to use a palette knife and we're going to scrape that pretty thickly all across that background. I did it sort of thick because I wanted it to keep some of its pink properties. Doing it on the black would make it look a little bit more iridescent and a little less pink. And so I decided to keep it fairly thick. So I'm just scraping that all across that background, trying to make sure that I get all of those hearts covered that are going to be on that black cardstock. And then I'm going to peel this away when I'm happy with how much thickness is on there. And I'm trying to be really careful so I don't get it everywhere. But then I am going to scrape off all the excess because there's quite a bit. I'll scrape off all that excess and put that back in my jar. This sort of seemed a little dry to me, and it's probably because there wasn't really anything in between the gel and the cap. So I'm going to do my best to just keep that lid nice and tight and try and use it up when I can. All right, let's move on to our stamping. It did take a little bit of time for that to dry, so in between I actually did make a different card, but so yeah, I did have to set that off to the side to dry. But now we're back to it, and so I have some of the Rina cardstock in my Misty, and I'm going to ink up one of the long stamps that came in this kit. It looks like confetti. I'm inking it up with some Minty Fresh Simon Hurley Create ink, and I'll do it a couple times to make sure it's nice and dark. And then I'm also going to clean that off and then put in another stamp. This one says like love. Ooh, well, now I can't remember. But I'm going to ink that up. Like, love, and adore you. There. And I'm going to ink that up with my ink on 3 ink a couple times to make sure it's nice and crisp. And then I'm going to put this into my guillotine trimmer and then trim that down. So I'm just using the clear piece to try and match that up so that everything is nice and straight. And I'll do that with the words as well. Now that all of those are cut out, I'm going to use my Nuvo Deluxe liquid adhesive. You would want to use a strong adhesive or possibly a foam tape because, as you can tell, trying to stick it over the top of that glitter, neon glitz glitter poppin' pink is it's a little bit difficult. So I had to kind of hold that there while it adhered. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my words as I adhere those down. And then for the piece of candy and the 2 conversation hearts that I'm going to add, I'm going to use some black foam squares. So I have these. Those are from Scrapbook Adhesive, and they're great because if you look from the side, then they're black. So they don't stand out too much, especially on black cardstock, which is kind of nice. So I'll just peel off the release paper, and then I'll put down one of my chocolates, and I'll put down one of the conversation hearts, and then I'll put one of the other ones up on top on the upper right-hand side. And then I am going to pull out some of the glossy accents that came in the kit after I adhere one more chocolate and another conversation heart to the inside. I'll just use a white gel pen to use or to write out my whatever I want to write to the recipient. But then I'm going to pull out the glossy accents and put that just on the heart of my chocolate. I love glossy accents. I feel like those are a must in any craft room. And that's going to finish off our first card. So happy with how that one turned out. For card number 2, we're going to make a shaped card. So I have some of that pink cardstock. I went ahead and cut that down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored it at 4.25, and then went ahead and folded it. And then we're going to be using the Simon Says stamp Wonky Hearts dies to make our card. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine just like this. Obviously, it's gonna, the top part, I needed that to not cut through so that way it would open like a card. And then I cut out a card panels from some of the pattern paper and then 2 more small white hearts from some of the white cardstock in the kit. And now I'm going to stamp out the words I love you on this scrap piece of some of that pink cardstock using some ink on 3 blackout ink.
And then I'm going to pull in the big heart again because I wanted this to match up with the side of the heart. It doesn't end up coming out perfect like I was hoping it would in my mind, but it comes out good enough, and I cover up the little mistakes. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to the panel, and you'll see there's like an edge that didn't go all the way across, which is fine. I'm going to take one of the conversation hearts and cover that up. But before I do that, I'll glue down these two little white panels. I love that stitching on the heart. It's all wonky and cute. Put both of those hearts down, and then I'm going to grab my little conversation hearts and we'll put those down. So I'll put this blue one there. It sort of covers my mistake. Obviously, you all know it's there. And then I'll put the other two conversation hearts on the upper left-hand side. And then I'm going to use some foam tape on the back of both of those chocolates. So this is some Arteza foam tape. So I'll trim that down, put a couple of pieces behind that, and then peel off that release paper and stick those down. And then I'm going to pull out the Sizzix LOVESTRUCK embellishments that came in the kit. So this whole giant tube of embellishments came in the kit, which is really, really cool. I'll pull those out here in a second. I'm going to glue down my panel to my card base here really quickly. And there's where it actually looks like a heart. But like I said, you needed that top part to not get cut out, so that way the card will actually, not cut all the way through. I'm pulling out some of the pink sequins. They're 3 big ones. To be honest with you, looking at it like this now, I don't really love it. I went ahead and glued those down using my Crystal Katana and some Nouveau Deluxe liquid adhesive, but I don't love those. However, it is what it is. So there is card number 2. I love the shaped cards. Those are always fun, and it will fit into an A2 sized envelope. For card number 3, you guessed it, we're going to make a shaker. So I have some of the pattern paper. I've cut it down to 4 inches by 5.5 inches. And then I grabbed one of the pre-scored, already pre-ready card panels that came in the kit. And then I have some acetate all ready to go. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to take this wonky heart and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine so I have my window cut through. And then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to use some liquid glue around the heart. If you don't put it too close to the heart, liquid glue works fine as long as it's a fast drying liquid glue, and that Nouveau Deluxe is. So that's what I'm using to attach down my acetate, and then I'm just going to push it down and make sure it stays nice and secure. Then I'm going to pull out some Heffy Doodle foam tape. This stuff is a little bit thicker. It's almost like a doubled up foam tape already, so it works great for shakers. And I'm just going to make sure that all those bits are connected. And then I'll peel off all of the release paper on the back of those before I put my bits in there, because I have had issues where I forget to take the backs off, put all my bits in there, and then try to take the backs off, and then all that stuff goes flying everywhere. So I'm going to use the Sizzix LOVESTRUCK stack of bits. I thought that there was so many cute pieces in there. Of course, I'm making a mess with these beads. And these beads, these really struck me. I thought these would be fun. You could take these and put these on top of your chocolates if you wanted to add a little bit of extra. Put those down with the glossy accents. That would be a lot of fun. I've done that with donuts before. And now I'm going to take some more bits. I'll take some of the gold, and then I've got some of the hearts, the red hearts. And then I'm going to take one more piece of acetate and I'm going to stick that down right over the top. I've done this a million times already, so if you've watched me before, you've seen me do this. This just ensures that I can keep all those pieces in there, and then this way I can attach down my panel down to my card base without trying to figure out how I'm going to get that to stick down. So this is just the way I do it. I always use a double bit of acetate. I'm going to stick that down. That's going to leave a little bit of black on the top and the bottom. And then I am going to take some more of the pattern paper that came in the kit and I'm going to trim it down. Probably about a 3/4 inch, I think is what I did, or maybe about close to an inch. And then I'm going to attach this down to the front of my card. I felt like I needed a little something because that pattern in the back is really, really busy. So using this lighter color like that just kind of makes it a little less crazy. And then I'll attach down the little heart that says, "Oh, hello" there, and a piece of chocolate. And then that's going to finish off card number 3, a fun, simple little shaker. Okay, for card number 4, I have some more of that patterned paper, and then I did bring in some Nina cream cardstock that I had in my stash, cut down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4 1/4. This patterned paper was cut down to be 4 inches by 5.5 inches, so it will leave a little bit on the left and right hand side. But I'm going to attach this to this stencil from the back, just using a little bit of washi tape. That way it won't move anywhere. And then I'm going to stencil right over the top some color. It's always fun when you can do it over the top of pattern paper because it just adds an extra little bit of element. So I'm starting off with some Simon Hurley Create Bee Sting ink. And I'm a little bit darker at the bottom, kind of going lighter at the top, almost like an ombre. And just covering those hearts is all I'm really doing. And then I'm going to bring in a darker color, a darker red burgundy type color. This is called Game Over by Simon Hurley Create. And then I'll keep that primarily to the bottom so that it will look ombre. And then it kind of gives the piece of paper a little bit more grounding. And then deepen that at the very bottom. And then when I pull away the stencil, I just love how that looks on top of that pattern paper. It's just fun, and it alters that pattern paper just a little bit. All right, so then I'm going to put this into my Misty because I want to stamp my sentiment and I don't want to mess it up. And so I'm going to ink that up with some ink on 3 blackout ink. And I'll do it a couple times just to make sure that I have a nice crisp sentiment. I love this sentiment. Being near you is the best. I think that's great because you could not only use it for someone you love, but also a friend or whatnot. And then on the inside, I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says hugs and kisses. It's that heart. And I'm going to do this where it has a little bit of variation. This is like that kissing technique. Well, not kissing. It's the, I forget what you call it. Rock and roll technique. So it's lighter on the inside and darker on the outside using those same colors that I used for stenciling. And then I'll grab a little bit more of that pattern paper from the outside and I'll just glue that to the bottom of the inside of the card. Now I want to put another strip on the outside of the panel so that the bear looks like he's kind of standing on something, and then I'll glue him down. I debated, so I had that heart up there in the speech bubble. I thought about putting that up above him, but I thought that would contrast too much with the being near you is the best, so I changed my mind. And then I'm going to stamp I love you on the inside of the heart. And then I am going to take the solid heart and I'm going to stamp that out 3 times. So it just adds a little something. And then I'll now attach the panel down to the card base using some of the liquid glue. I'll use some of the glossy accents on his nose. And then when I'm done with that, that will finish off card number 4. And he is just so cute. I think I'm just in love with this stamp set. Card number 5 is going to be a pretty quick and simple one. I took one of the panels that was in the pattern paper. I cut all 4 of them down, and then I decided that for this one I wanted to fussy cut it out and make this be my main image. So there's no stamping on this card, but you can really pack a punch with these just by adding a little bit of extra, and I'll show you here in a second. So after I fussy cut that out, which was really simple, I'm going to line it up over the top of one of the other panels, and then I'm going to grab one more of those panels and I'm going to use it towards the back, and we'll stagger those, just kind of figuring out how I want that placement to go. I'll trim down this piece of pattern paper, and then I'll attach the red one to this white polka dotted one, and kind of centering it over the top of our back panel. Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of glue on there, but I'll cover that up here in a second because these panels are going to go right down over the top of that. And then I'm going to use some foam tape on the back of our Thanks for Being Such a Sweetie. And once I get all that on there and I take off all the release paper, I'll just put that right over the top of the I love you. And then I'm going to attach my panel down to my card base. And once that's down there, to just really add more, I'm going to grab those glossy accents. I'm going to put that over the heart on the cupcake. And I'll also put it over the sprinkles. So that will take it to the next level. But to go even further, I'm going to grab some of the embellishments from that Sizzix LOVESTRUCK grouping of embellishments. And I put some of the gold flat embellishments right on top. And then I'll use those glossy accents to adhere those down. I was fairly liberal with those, kind of starting in that left-hand corner and working my way down to the right-hand corner. And once all of those are on there, that'll finish off card number 5. Very simple card, but still is, I think that one turned out so fun. For our final card, we are going to make a slimline card, but our pattern paper only measures 6 by 8. And I typically make my slimlines 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches when they're closed. So I'm going to have to modify this one, which is fine. It obviously, as long as it fits in the envelope, you're good to go. So I'm trimming down my panel. This is going to be 8 inches because I wanted that pattern paper panel to fit all the way across. Now I'm taking a sliver of cardstock, and this part will be kind of not necessary. I did it. I love the way it looked, but I ended up covering it up in the end. So what I did is I took the XOXO stamp, and I'm stamping that across this whole panel, or this whole strip of paper, using some of that Game Over ink by Simon Hurley Create. Just doing it all the way across, and then I am going to attach this to my pattern paper panel. And I love the way this looks. I loved it so much, and then I didn't pay attention and completely covered it with my chocolates and my bear, which you'll see here. I'm going to glue down all of my chocolates, just kind of thinking where they should go. And what I should have done was just added them slightly above that so you could still see the XOXO. But I just got into create mode and wasn't paying any attention. But adding all those chocolates, which I'm telling you, doing this just made me want to go grab some chocolate. Oh, all those delicious looking chocolates. And then I'll attach down this little conversation heart speech bubble. And then I'll put some foam tape on the back of our bear, and we'll put him down as well. I love how he says, "I'm here for you." And then I'm going to attach that down to this cardstock panel, which, remember, now measures 3.5 inches by 8 inches. All right, and that will leave a little bit on the top and bottom. Here's my card base. This measured in the beginning 7 inches by 8.5 inches, and I scored it at 3.5 inches. So 7 by 8.5, scored at 3.5. And now this is where I'm realizing I don't like it to be that long with my panel on top of it. So I'm going to trim that down so that will fit perfectly. I'll put a piece of pattern paper on the inside of my card base, and then add a couple more of those little elements. This is why I like to make so many, because then it just gives me opportunities and options to put some of those on the insides of my cards, because y'all know I really do like to decorate the insides. I don't always do it, but I would say 90% of the time I do it. I'll attach down my panel to my card base, and here I decide to take some of those glossy accents, and I'm going to put it all over the heart. And then I'll also cover all of the elements on top of the chocolates. So wherever there's a swirl or a sprinkle or a heart or a flower, I will completely cover those with that glossy accents. And I even cover the bear's nose. And I'll hold it up for you and show you. But that really does add quite a bit. And it doesn't take a lot of time, and it does dry fairly quickly. But I love how that looks. So that's going to finish off our 6th card. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at all the cards that I made for you today. I would love to know if you had a favorite out of this bunch, which one it was. Go ahead and leave that down in the comments section down below. I don't know if I have a favorite, but I know I loved the stamp sets that were in this kit. Normally I'm not all gushy, lovey, but I think these are great because a lot of these could be used for friends. That bear, I mean, you could add all kinds of stuff to that bear. He's so cute. So go ahead and leave that down in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.